And Joseph Wilson.
Here.
San Gabriel Valley, Gilbert. Alvitas. Central Coast, Chris Atchison.
Here.
Miguel Diaz, San Gabriel Valley.
Okay, thank you. Dave Watkins.
Here.
Santa Clara Valley, Janet Thrasher.
Here.
Rick Clark.
He's here too. I don't know where he went, but he's here.
Shasta District, Mike Bullard.
Here.
Jackie Clark.
Here.
Dave Silva.
Here.
Russell Phillips. Finnish Coastal District, Larry Short.
Here. Here.
Barbara Short.
Here.
Ventura District, Rudy Ayala.
Carly and I are here.
Thank you. Past presidents. I don't have a list on here who's here. Let me just, Lee Whitmore.
Here.
Delgado.
Here.
Delgado.
Yeah, I'm here.
Jim Steed.
Here.
Any other presidents that I missed?
Mike Bullard.
Steve Scoville.
Okay, Steve.
Jerry Bryant, Orange County.
Okay, called you earlier, Jerry, Mike. Okay. Any other presidents? Travis, are you on?
Billy Gaither, I'm here. And Chris, for Vintage Coastal, you also need to seat Harold Matson and Doug Faust.
Doug Faust. Okay. Thanks, Billy.
Got it.
Did I miss anybody else, folks?
Scott with Big Valley District.
Donna, AgriTurf.
Okay.
Larry Treelevin, Sprague Pest Solutions.
Okay. Thanks, Larry.
Jim Fredericks with the National Pest Management Association.
Hi, Jim. Thank you.
Steve Mills, San Diego.
Gordon Nasser, Orkin Pest Control, San Diego.
Okay.
LA South Bay District, Celia Shockey and Jim Shockey. Debbie Scott, Big Valley District.
Okay.
Brad Delk, Mid-Cal District.
Thank you, Brad.
Monterey
Josh.
Bay, Michael Reed.
Who's that?
Monterey Bay, Michael Reed.
Okay.
Joshua Adams, Big Valley District.
Thanks, Josh. Anybody else?
Hey, Chris, I believe Uriel Zuniga from San Diego District's on also. He sent out a text.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there's quite a few people logging in through the chat. So, Sarah and Karen, if you could please make sure that we're capturing who is on the call through chat as well as voice, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Chris, I don't know if I'm on. Celia Shockey and Jim
Yes.
Shock.
Yep,
LA
I got you both.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Got you both. Thank you, Celia.
Oh, I see.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, thank you. Mike, would you like me to go into the executive committee report?
Yes, please.
Roll call yesterday. Our meeting began at 1:10 p.m. Roll call, everyone was in attendance. Motion by Dean Wiley, seconded by Tom Grasson to approve the December meeting, executive committee meeting. We go right to the president's report. Mike McKenzie talked about the first termite academy. It was held in February at the University of California, Berkeley. It was a great success. It sold out in pretty short order. We plan on having at least one termite academy this year, and maybe two, depending on if we can organize two of them. Mike, because of the challenges related to visiting districts, I think, Mike, we had down Vintage Coastal District March 5th, and couldn't visit any districts after that because of the COVID issue, but had a chance to sit down with Billy Gaither in that district and enjoyed it very much. Mike has enjoyed his districts throughout the year and considered it a great pleasure. We also attended on March 7th, a small group of us attended the MPMA legislators back in Washington, D.C. As always, we get a lot of information, get the chance to meet with some folks and talk to a lot of our colleagues around the country. Communication's been working very well with the organization, PCLC staff, working tirelessly during this effort. Also, our friends, and I know Jim Frederick's on the phone, MPMA has been very helpful working closely with on the issue related to the pandemic. We're monitoring, as you know, every week we send out an update. There's a lot going on, and some days changes hourly. Our association has taken major, we're also talked about the revenue portion of this, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Dues, the whole issue of dues we'll talk about later too. Mike has put together, we'll talk about that as well regarding the task force and what we're going to do in the coming year. And his final note was must work together as an industry to maintain the long-term viability of this association. Treasurer's report, Dean Wiley read the Treasurer's report. Peacock Group, I know we'll hear from Lee later today. Dean Wiley also read the CARES, Scholarship Mike McKenzie, PAPCO. I read the PAPCO report. Executive Vice President's report talked about sort of the status of where we are on all the COVID-19 related activities in California. Talk generally about, I'll talk about in my time too, about the cooperation we've gotten from both the Department of Pesticide Regulation and the Structural Pest Control Board. Also talked during my time regarding legislation. We have some news as it relates to legislation this coming year, what the legislature will probably end up doing. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about events. As you know, we had to cancel. We would have been actually in Sacramento today as we speak. And so what are we going to do with not only this event in the future, but upcoming events as well? Other business that was discussed, trying to create additional revenue through online training. See, as you know, you can't go to any classes now. So Sylvia has been kind enough to sort of lead the discussion, not only with PCOC, but with the Structural Pest Control Board to see what we can do about online continuing education. I just found out today that apparently DPR is allowing at least some opportunity to do that more than they have. It's based on sort of what we're doing now. Then Mary Hernandez also talked about an opportunity to create revenue through some stickers, and we'll be talking about that later too. New business, Mike will be talking about 2021 budget with Tom Grasson. The whole dues restructure issue, we'll talk about that later, but that's on hold, considering changing some bylaws on district chairs. At least there's some discussion about that. Motion to adjourn at 3:10 was made by Mary Hernandez and seconded by Greg Augustine. And that completes the executive committee meeting yesterday.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So we'll kick right into the minutes from our last meeting. And we're going to have to do this a little bit differently unless, let me just kind of put this together. First thing first, Lee Whitmore. Dude, I love your backgrounds. Thank you. I just wanted to put that out there.
Your season's Kona.
Yeah, it's okay. So what we're going to do right now is basically have a moment to review the minutes. I hope everybody had a chance to review them in their board packets that were emailed out. earlier this week and last week. So if you've had a few moments to review them, what I'd like to do is if somebody will need to make the motion to approve the minutes from our last Board of Directors meeting. So is there anybody that will please make that motion?
Mike, this is Larry Treelevin. I move that we accept the minutes as circulated.
Thank you, Larry Treelevin. Appreciate that.
Second it, Mike. This is Fred Rozo.
Hey, Fred, did you say you'd second it?
Yes,
All right, thank you, Fred.
Yep.
So now is a chance for discussion regarding the minutes. Is there anybody that has any item that they would like to discuss regarding the last Board of Directors meeting minutes? All right, hearing none. All in favor signify by putting a thumbs up or saying aye.
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 All right, so if anybody is opposed, thank you, Uriel, I see that. So if anybody is opposed, please speak up and say nay. Awesome. So the motion will carry. Thank you for that. This is going to be awesome. So I'll get into my report, the president's report, and I'll start out with my report of activities. And Chris kind of danced on it, went over it a little bit. So first off, welcome to everybody. Thank you for staying with us through this. It is going to be a little bit different for all of us. But I will start in our typical fashion, reporting on my activities for 2020 so far. So could we mute everybody, please? Tom? All right, thank you. So as I was saying, I'll start with in the typical fashion. So since we last met in December, there was really a lot happening. Obviously, this is pre-COVID-19. We kicked off our first Termite Academy back in February, and I want to shout out Garrett Thrasher and the faculty, including several industry members that put on a great event up at Berkeley. The event was a sellout, and I expect when our business climate changes back to normal, we will facilitate another. Hopefully that'll be this year. Unfortunately, I was only able to visit one district, as Chris was saying, which was the Vintage Coastal District back on March 5th. And I will say this, visiting our district meetings has been such a great pleasure for me. In fact, I feel it's the biggest perk of being the president. You really get the opportunity to know people and to see people in their home districts. So in addition to the district meeting that I attended, I also attended MPMA's Ledge Days back in DC in early March. And as we all know, about mid-March, late March is about when everything changed. So PCOC as we know it has completely changed. And I'm talking from the president's perspective as well as the staff perspective. So I've spent a lot of time over the past, 30 days-ish, working with our staff and several members, fighting for our industry and our association. So before I move into the remarks or my remarks, we added an agenda item under new business, and we've asked MPMA, which you've heard speak a little bit, we've asked them to join our meeting and discuss like new developments nationwide as well as California specific for COVID-19. So I want to recognize MPMA for their willingness to participate and say thank you. So MPMA, thank you all for attending. We really appreciate it. So moving into my remarks, as I was saying, 2020 had started out really well. Up until 4 weeks ago, it was really business as usual, and we were beginning to gain some serious momentum. Our events were taking off, and we were coming right into our season at PCOC, our event season. So over the past few meetings, I've been discussing the 5 pillars. One area that has significantly moved forward due to this pandemic is pillar 5, which is enhancing our use of technology, obviously, right? So in addition to Pillar 5, I believe the communication in this association has also significantly increased due to the demand for reliable information that's relevant to pest control operators, which is Pillar 2. While we have not arrived on our pillars, your executive committee and staff continue to work on our strategic plan to reshape what PCOC looks like moving forward. Our PCOC staff has been working tirelessly with multiple agencies across the state to ensure pest control as a whole industry is essential. I would be remiss if I did not mention again MPMA and the effort they have put forward to protect our industry across the nation and within our state. Your team at PCOC is doing their best to reach everyone with the most up-to-date information. And as Chris alluded to, the biggest challenge we have is the information changes so rapidly. So I have to say I'm extremely proud of our team and the way they have risen to the challenge. So Janai, Sarah, Karen, and Chris, thank you all for everything you are doing to keep this industry and association running. We all benefit from the reliability and diligence of your hard work during this time of national crisis. Thank you again. So if you recall, we started the fiscal year back in July 2019, about $200,000 in the red. As the year has progressed, we were able to dig out of the red through closely watching our spending and ramping up our event efforts. As the calendar year turned to 2020, our association was no longer in the red. We were actually in the black, especially coming into February and out of February. So we had essentially dug our way out and we were looking forward to our event season. So I would like to, since we're talking about events, I want to spend a moment on our future events. So at this point, we truly have nothing live face-to-face on the event calendar until our expo. Obviously, it's scheduled for June 23rd through 26th in Monterey. So we are closely monitoring the developments of COVID-19 and plan to make a final decision regarding expo on May 25th. If the nation or the state decides to continue the shelter in place or social distancing through June, we will communicate appropriately and effectively cancel our meetings. Please keep this in mind. Your safety, our safety as an association is our #1 priority. So depending on the legislative landscape, we are considering a one-day legislative day event in late August. We will decide if this is necessary at a later date. So basically, if there's pressing legislation and/or a need for legislative days, we will put an abbreviated agenda together. So as we know now, our September Board of Directors in Paso Robles will take place as planned. So these are sobering times for all of us. Our association has taken a major blow. In the movie Apollo 13, there's a scene where the spaceship is broken. There are so many issues with the ship, everyone is unclear of the future state. One of the ground crew members states, "Are we prepared for this?" And another states, "Hell, we've never even simulated something like this." As an association, this statement is exactly where I see us today. PCOC has never discussed or planned for any sort of event like this. Our operating capital was at an all-time low. Many of your districts have donated in the past few weeks. For that, we thank you. Last week, we sent out our dues billing. You may have noticed we will not be increasing or discussing a dues increase until a future date. My ask of each of you is to please pay your membership dues in a timely manner. This will allow PCOC to remain functioning at a high capacity. So in addition to asking districts and sending out our membership dues, I've asked Tom Graston to form a financial advisory task force. So this task force will assist PCOC in making decisions regarding our finances and the weeks and months to come. Chris is going to share some additional details regarding PCOC and our current status in his update, which will follow mine directly. So like Apollo 13, the goal is to make it back with more than enough power to spare. In our case, power is our staff, building, and our association as a whole. We must work together as an industry to maintain this association. I think it's fair to say that COVID-19 has changed life as we know it. I'll go out on a limb to say this pandemic has impacted every person hearing my voice. At this point, several families, businesses, and the nation is on hold. I think about all the young men and women that were going to graduate from all levels of schooling. Families that have members that are sick or worse, no longer with us. My heart and prayers go out to all of the impacted families. In the last month, many things have changed, but some have not. The talent, drive, and determination of our members has not changed. I believe that together we will rally to the cause of reshaping PCOC. Our members will move PCOC forward into our new reality. Pest control has never been more important than it is today. Our association has never been more important to our industry than it is today. I leave you with this question. What would we have done in this crisis without PCOC? So thank you all, be safe. I'm gonna turn the meeting over to Chris, and just after Chris, we're gonna do a question and answer session. So you all will be able to ask whatever questions you want regarding what we're talking about. So Chris, if you'll take over.
Mike, thank you very much. Let me begin with the COVID-19 discussions that we've had over the last few weeks. And as you might imagine, as Mike mentioned in his comments, they literally change not only daily, but sometime hourly. So I think the good news out of all this is that I literally talk to the structural board and DPR almost weekly, sometimes multiple times during the week. So as it relates to, as you know, the 90-day waiver for the new employees, we're still talking to Susan right now related to the issue of testing. We're also talking to them regarding the whole discussion about continuing education, the renewal cycle. What we hear right now is that renewal cycle will be extended. They haven't confirmed that yet, but at least in our discussions, they are talking about extending that cycle, which is, as you know, makes it almost impossible for us if you're not doing training. So we're also looking at long-term discussions with them, and we've begun with Susan, their executive officer, discussions on what if we can't train like we normally do, let's say for the next month, can there be some video training? And as I mentioned in my notes earlier, Sylvia Kenmure's working with the board to figure out how we do that. And the good news is it looks like the Department of Pesticide Regulation is going to sort of provide at least some waivers on the ability to do this. Maybe we can do this as well through the structural board. So we're going to be working on that. Related to the Department of Pesticide Regulation, they worked very hard, diligently for us in the sanitizer issue. I know, having talked to a lot of you, that it probably didn't do everything we needed to do, but I must tell you, they had it turned around in a week, which in this sort of environment, particularly with everything going on related to COVID, in the governor's office and the legislature, is pretty timely. I think there's another question we need to ask after all this is over, this 90-day waiting period about the sanitizer issue, but I think that's a discussion for another day. What we're asking them to do now is, last Friday, Darren Van Steenwyk asked me to contact the department, and I'm working with Darren regarding the whole issue of the mask, the N95 mask. I know we're running out of PPE, and there's been some discussion about providing, again, some sort of waiver to allow to use the mask according to the manufacturer's label. So my understanding, Harvard Fong, who's the department's industrial hygienist, is looking into that. Because as you know, we get a month down the road here, we're still in the same situation. We're going to need some help. And I think they understand that, and so they're willing to work with us as well. I think the good news is I had a discussion with Director Dolcini, the DPR, last Friday for a few moments, and the one thing he made perfectly clear is, hey, if there's something that we can help you with directly related to COVID, let us know. Because he thought the sanitizer was that with that discussion item. He knows that the mask issue, PPE is an issue, and he made it perfectly clear to us to let us know that if there's other issues of importance, not only for our membership, but also for the public as well. So wanted to just also thank Darren Van Steenwyk. Darren worked tirelessly with both those issues on me, so I wanted to give a shout out to Darren as well. I next wanted to talk about in early March, myself and a coalition of people met with the Cal EPA Secretary Jared Blumenthal, along with the Director of DPR, Valdocini, staff, regarding the sort of status of sulfuric fluoride. To be candid with you, the meeting, it was supposed to be an hour meeting. It lasted 45 minutes, but really 40 minutes. And the first 30 minutes was us explaining to the Secretary why we were there. So to say that it was, we were surprised and shocked that the Secretary wasn't briefed would be an understatement. The meeting didn't go as we liked. I think the good news is the follow-up discussions with that have been productive with the department. So our hope is, and by the way, the coalition included not only PCOC, but the California Realtors. We had banking mortgage interests there as well. We had California Manufacturing Technology, and we also had science perspective. So it was a pretty good coalition. The disappointing part, we didn't get as much time as we wanted, but I think we made the point again. I think after the fact, we had an ability to, with staff and also Jesse Cuevas, the Chief Deputy, to talk about kind of what our interests are. So our next goal, folks, after this meeting, is we're working with Dom Damari to have a small group of people go visit the governor's office to talk about sort of next steps for us, because we're very concerned, depending on how long this process continues, that they don't make a decision so COVID-19, or at least COVID-19 is dealt with, and so there's an understanding of sort of where we go. It's too important. By the way, we made a case the other day to the department. It's critical to real estate, and just imagine, if you would, if we can't resolve the issue, or somehow the issue isn't resolved to our satisfaction, the impact it will have on real estate. So I think they understand that. So that's on sulfuric fluoride. Again, we met early March. Jim, Steve, Darren, and myself just got on the phone with Dominic a couple of days ago. It appears, folks, as you recall, we had AB 2373, which is going to be carried by Blanca Rubio. Things have changed this legislative session, because most members can carry bills, 25 to 30 bills. Now, leadership is saying you can only carry 5 bills. Those 5 bills got to be related to COVID-19 in some capacity. So you're just not going to carry any piece of legislation this year that's not related. And they have criteria if you're going to introduce a bill, and you might imagine that criteria is pretty strict as it relates to what type of bill you're going to introduce, if it's not related directly or indirectly to COVID-19. So we were talking about our bill, AB 2373. We think it makes some sense that we have some ideas about the bill. As you remember, it's mandatory training consistent with what we're doing now. For second gens, we indicated that's not critical this year. It frankly doesn't meet the criteria, even though we might stretch and meet the criteria if we really had to, but live to fight another day. And so what we also did too, as a result of our discussion, is Darren Van Steenwyk put together some best management practices, and we're actually working with sharing those with the department, because we want to let the department know going forward. We've got a lot of thought to this, and we think it makes some sense related to best management practices, that if we engage in more activity, legislative activity with rodenticides, that our association has given a lot of time and effort and thought about what best management practices look like. So that's related to legislation. As you know, here's the other issue. Mike talked about it in his comments. We don't know if we're going to have a special session this year, what that might look like, when it's going to happen. Normally in an election year, legislature leaves at the end of August. We don't know if they're going to leave at the end of August, they're going to leave sooner. So we're still trying to figure all that out. But if we can finesse a day, folks, and it makes some sense, and the whole, social distancing, and it's unclear where we're going to be, but in August, July, August. But I just rule, I put that in your ear, because I think depending on how this works, we might do that, and us and a whole bunch of other groups as well. Let me also sort of get into some of our finances. Mike talked a little bit broadly on our finances, and I just wanted to sort of run this by you. A couple things that would be interesting to this board. As Mike mentioned, it was an enormously challenging year for a lot of different reasons. And like you said, we were digging our way out of this damn thing before all of a sudden, at the end of February and early March, we started seeing some problems arise because candidly, before Mike and I took off the MPMA Ledge Days, we had people already pulling out of our legislative days. And we saw sort of folks concerned on the sponsorship community too, not only for Ledge Days, but for Expo, we're saying, let's hold off, wait and see. So it was we said at the time, like Mike said, we thought at the end of January, we're gonna be in pretty good shape. As you know, we have sort of a feast and famine budget anyway. And we get through to our normal time, May, send out our dues and live to fight another day. But that wasn't the case. And so let me just say this. I wanted to thank again all the districts who really stepped up and helped us through this trying time. A lot of the money we've already received in, we still got some money outstanding, but I really want to thank you for mostly your teamwork. I mean, I've always said we're all in this together. The district is where it's happened. We also got a nice letter too, and someone asked some questions about kind of why are we here? And I just wanted to comment. I'm not going to get into the letter specifically, but the letter raised some issues that I think everyone should know about and we need to respond to as an association. As you know, we've been very candid about our finances, at least since I've been around here. So the question was, as it relates to, why haven't we sent back the registration money for legislative days? The way I would respond to that is our hope was that we were early on, mid-March, late March, that we didn't know the direction we're going to go as it relates to another legislative day. As we speak today, that's still the case. However, I want you to know that we've actually already segregated that money out. And if you choose not to participate in legislative days, we can send that out now. But we want to be careful because we said if we do another ledge days, it made some sense, at least let us sort of, while we have the resources, the money, set it aside. And depending on what we do in the summer, use those resources, use your resources for another ledge day. But that's one issue I wanted to talk about. So it wasn't that we just willy-nilly didn't send it back, but we were thinking about what are we going to do next. Then secondly, the issue was, and it's related to the district as well, is what are we going to do? We didn't get all the district monies back this year, and they're absolutely correct. Our hope was, my plan, folks, was we sent back monies in late January. My plan was to send back monies in late February and send the final sort of tranche of this in March as well. It didn't work. And as you might imagine, when we start seeing people sort of trail off in terms of sponsorships and participation in those events, we sort of put a hold to it because it became evidently clear to us that we got to make sure that from a resource perspective, we keep all our resources till we determine what this looks like in the next 30 days. So number one, I wanted to apologize, but I want to make it clear too, that was sort of our thinking at the side, or thinking, Mike and our team, Tom as well, about kind of where we are on this, because we didn't know kind of where we were today, that here we are, shelter in place. At that time, it wasn't shelter in place, but we knew things weren't good. So we want to do everything we can to sort of marshal our resources as well. As a result of that, Mike mentioned the whole issue of an advisory committee, and he's put some people on, you all know, folks that have been through this and really understand our budget today, with Mike Bullard and Jim Steed, Mike McKenzie, Tom Graston, and myself, and we'll be talking to some other people as well. But folks, one of the things we're also looking at is the whole issue of refinancing money from our property. And the reason we're thinking about doing that is, number one, we had when I first came to PCLC, we had about 70 grand in our reserve fund. We used about 21,000 to help us with a second gen debate, and we hired a consultant to help us. And that left us about 49,000, and we just used some money recently. So we haven't had a significant rainy day fund or reserve fund. So one of the things that we're talking about out of this, if we refinance our property, and we're literally talking about it, working on it as we speak, was we want to have at least 6 months of monies in that reserve fund in the case of another emergency, folks. Not that we're going to have another pandemic, but I think we have to have a reserve to make sure that we can sort of stay through the night, so to speak. So I think it's, and the other part of it, folks, candidly, is we don't know where we are now. Okay, the new norm for us. What's our dues going to look like this year? Are we going to be able to do an events before December? Mike talked about Monterey. We're talking about Paso Robles. Everything is sort of up in the air. What if we get a second wave of this in the winter? What does that mean for events as well? It's like, because I raise all that, folks, right now we don't have the resources to sustain ourselves. And if we don't have something, an ability to at least have some money in the bank to withstand the next, depending on the next year, along with this year's dues and, maybe potential events or maybe not. That's why we're looking carefully, folks, just so you know, at the whole issue of online training in terms of ability revenue. But I wanted to raise the issue of the refinances of the property. We think it makes some sense. We're looking at this very carefully. We've begun discussions with the bank now. And so I just wanted to let you folks know that we're thinking about it. It's part of the discussion. There's been no decisions made, but I've been asked to at least look into it, and I'm doing that. And then the next question is, and I'd be happy, Mike and I know answer questions all this, is that what does the new normal look like for us as an association? And that, to me, is the question, because I heard the governor today at lunch. It's not clear to us, it looks like there's a phase in. There's got to be criteria met before the economy totally opens up. Because, large urban area versus rural areas is very different, not only in this state, but all over the country. So he had criteria today to sort of what I character open the state up. So it's not clear how this is going to work. As Mike mentioned also, the whole June, we're going to find out at the end of June what we can do related to our expo. And just so everyone knows, if we cancel now, we'll be out a lot of money. We just can't cancel on that. We've had it in play for a long time. The Hyatt was very good to us for Ledge Days, but we're working with the hotel. Sarah and I have had conversations with the hotel about if we can't do it in June, when else can we do it? And so we're looking at those opportunities too. But we want to make sure too that we just don't lose the monies from our expo hotel. Plus, we have monies for Paso Robles as well. So depending on how this all plays out, there's got to be some flexibility, at least, in the next month or coming months. So anyway, I know that's a lot of information, but at least I thought I'd share that with you. And Mike, I'd be happy to, along with you, open up to answer any questions.
So let me kind of you can use your chat feature that we discussed earlier. So you're more than welcome to post your question. And if you don't have the ability to do that, if you want to just, voice it in, that's fine. But we can only handle one at a time, obviously. So questions from the group. What do you all have? Some of you are typing feverishly. Crickets.
Mike and Chris, while everybody's typing, this is Bill Gaither. I was kind of unclear on what you were going to do with payments you made for Ledge Day already. Keep that for
So if I heard you, Billy, the question is, what are we doing with payments that were already made for Ledge Day? Is that correct?
Yes.
Billy, Mike, I'll respond to that. Hey, Billy, we have set aside the funds that folks already paid for the registration of legislative days. And because we've already set the funds aside, if you choose to have your refund, we will send them back immediately. If you choose to keep them in this fund, because we don't know yet if we're going to do a one-day sort of a hybrid legislative day, that hasn't been determined yet. So I'm open to anything, Bill. If folks choose they want their registration fee back, funds back, we'd be happy to do that.
Okay, and the follow-up on that was, what about monies paid for golf? Because I'm sure you're not going to have a golf event now.
I didn't catch that one, Bill. I didn't hear what you said.
The second part of the question was, what about monies paid for golf on Ledge Day? I'm sure you're not going to hold a golf event now.
Well, there's one course in California that's open. We're going to filter everybody to that course. So yes, the same would be apply as what Chris just described for golf as well.
Correct.
Any other questions? Thank you, Bill, for those. That was good questions. That was crazy. All right, so we will move forward. So Dean Wiley, I will call on you for our treasurer's report.
Okay, if you turn to your financial balance sheets as of February 29th of 2020, our current assets are 125,108 and are composed of checking, dues, money market, and building reserve, impound accounts, our regulatory response fund, and encumbered reserves. Our accounts receivable are at 216,081 and are principally composed of 1819 state dues at 29,270, 1819 district dues at 8,193, PAPCO contributions for 1819 in the amount of 55,989, 1920 state dues 92,133, and doubtful accounts at 6,500. 1920 district dues at 22,655, and doubtful accounts at 12,326. 1920 PAPCO 77,094, and doubtful accounts at 51,183. Assets are 14,462 and are comprised of prepaid insurance, prepaid expenses such as event deposits, and suspense items, which are pass-through expenses. Fixed assets, 168,079 in our land, automobile, building and improvements, and fixtures, and accumulated depreciation. Our total assets come in at 520,286. Liabilities are 79,632 and principally refer to the auto loan, district dues, and trade. Trade is bills paid but not owed. Owed but not paid. Other liabilities, 329,783 and are principally composed of payroll liabilities of 3,486, deferred 1819 state dues, 31,893, deferred 1819 district dues at 8,836, deferred 1819 PAPCO contributions at 55,956, deferred 1920 state dues at 93,302, deferred 1920 district dues of 31,636, deferred PAPCO contributions of 90,434, deferred building fund income, deferred expo income at 0, deferred ledge day income is 0, deferred pest ed income is 0, and deferred PWIPM fundraise at 300. Vacation payable, 13,624. Sales tax is at $15. Equity totals up at 117,871 and is composed of returnings of negative 32,969 and net income of 150,840. Total liabilities and equities balanced out at 527,286. Our statement of activities. The financial statement represents 66.4 of our total budgeted year. Income for the current period is 48,741. Our year-to-date income is 693,879 and represents 75.8 of the budgeted amount. Expenses for the current period are 61,341, and our year-to-date expenses are 543,039, and that represents 59.4% of the total budget amount. That leaves the remaining balance of negative 12,600. Any questions regarding this financial report? Okay, Mike, I hand it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dean. Appreciate it. Let's see. Next up, I'd like to call on, well, it shows here, CARES to do your financials. So is that you, Dean, or who would be doing
It's
that?
me. No, it's me, Mike. So currently in the PCSC CARES balance sheet, we have $32,860 in our Wells Fargo bank checking account. We had accounts receivable of $1,100, and our total assets are $33,960. Total liabilities and equity are $4,260. Our statement of activities, we had income, we had a donation of donation year to date of $600. A raffle in the current period was $600, and then the total raffle was $4,261 for the year. That leaves us a total income of $10,461. This current period, we give out $1,500 in benevolence, and the year to date is $8,500. Our total expenses are $10,711. Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you, Dean.
You're welcome.
Next, I'm going to call upon Jackie for the Education Foundation or scholarship.
Thank you, Mike. For our current assets, we have in our U.S. bank account $280,510 and an accounts receivable of $100, giving us a total asset, total assets of $280,610. Our liabilities are retained earnings of $287,499 and a net income of negative $689, leaving us a total liability of that balances at the $286,810. If you want to go to our statements of activities, for a year to date, we have a donation of total of $46, $1,800 as fundraisers, a raffle income of $185, and an interest income of $6,040. You can see our market value change for year to date is negative $10,117, and $15,000 of that from the current period. In our expenses, we had $2,300 in accounting expenses and $9 in bank fees. We had a fundraising expense of $1,058, $10 of office supplies, and we have $1,466 of professional fees, giving us a total expenses for year to date of $4,842, giving us a net income this year for negative $8,889.
Okay, I see 6889. Was that a misread?
Yes, I probably said it wrong. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Lee, I'll turn it over to you for a Peacock report.
All right. Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
Good.
I'll go over the financial reports first to start. That's the yellow sheets that are in the packet. We have, I'm not going to go line by line. We've got total assets at $1,884,229, primarily from our Wells Fargo Trust and our Schwab investment dollars, $405,677 as of February 29th. Today's market, we went quite a ways down, with the downturn of the market, but today the fund is about exactly where it was in February. We did inject $25,000 into it, in March. So we've seen that downturn of about 5% is what we've seen, which isn't too bad considering how far the market went down. But we're about $405,000 today as far as the Schwab investment account's concerned. You can see that it balances out with our retained earnings of $1,884,261 and a net income for this period, or net loss for this period, of $3,587. The statement of activities, you can see we got this out of line again. I'd like to have the interest and investment incomes listed below the operating income or loss at the bottom. If we could ask Janai to move that back down there for future reports, appreciate that. For the current period, we did earn commission income of $9,490. The investment income, which should be listed below the operating income, was a loss of $16,317 as the market began to erode. Got expenses for PCOC reimbursement of $3,000. That gives us our net loss that we show down at the bottom. Any questions on the financials? Okay. I will say one of the other reports that we get is our RTEX fund, which is basically the clearinghouse. When we receive premium dollars, they go offshore to a holding company, RTEX, and as we pay out claims, that money comes, basically it's an accounting exercise that's performed there. For this past 2019, this year, we paid out $1.4 million in losses, substantially higher than what we've seen in the past. As a comparison, in 2018, we paid out about $660,000 in losses. Those losses were primarily generated from programs year 12 and 13, which is 17-18 and 18-19. In 17-18, we had quite a few pretty significant auto losses. Auto continues to lead the pack as far as trying to drive our program down. Overall, in general liability, we have good performance, and that kind of picks us up from there. Regardless, even though we did pay out that $1.4 million in losses in 2019, the balance sheet for our program remains strong. We have assets of $3.8 million over liabilities of approximately $2.3 million. And there's also a cash balance of about $3.5 million, again, which more than covers our liabilities. And so overall, the program continues to perform well. And we just got to work on the auto. This pandemic's going to cause the auto to go down, and Paul will kind of address some of that from a premium standpoint, but this isn't the way that we'd like to see the results improve. So we will see that, but unfortunately it's not in the best manner that we would hope to have seen. One of the other things that we did over the last about a year is there was in 2017, we had passed, President Trump passed the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. There was a lot of concern for offshore entities that would have an impact on how we handle our tax liabilities. The way it works for us currently is we don't incur a tax liability until we start moving funds back onshore. So as we take those premiums and move them offshore, we pay out our expenses on an annual basis. We're not required to square that up on an annual basis and pay taxes on that. We don't incur the tax liability until those dollars come back. That's very common, I think, and that's one of the major reasons a lot of these insurance programs are housed offshore. But with that passage of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act, there was concern that was no longer going to be the case, and that we could potentially have a requirement to pay taxes sort of on an as-you-go basis. We hired, about 9 months ago, we hired Mr. Rick Irvine. He's an attorney with the PricewaterhouseCoopers Tax Services, also in Bermuda, specializing in captives programs and that sort of stuff. So he did a pretty comprehensive review for us and looked into the way that we're set up, looked at our association, looked at the relationship that we have with the Peacock Group and PCOC, and came to the determination that there were no changes required for us at this time. And so that finding was of value to us, and we're happy with the results. And so for the interim, at least, we will continue to proceed as we're established with the offshore account. With that, any questions on any of the stuff that I covered there? All right, with that, I'll turn it over to Paul.
Thank you, Lee. Good afternoon, everybody. I never thought I'd be sitting here from Command Bunker Woodland, looking at a loss of $6 trillion to the U.S. economy. Needless to say, insurance companies have not funded anywhere near that kind of a loss, let alone that it happens in 1 month. So the insurance industry is in a tremendous amount of reflection and how they're going to deal with it. Just to give you a very broad overview, obviously carriers haven't collected $6 trillion in premium over the last few years to cover communicable disease type of losses. Those are largely excluded from all policies. So there's a lot of talk about FEMA stepping in and helping companies to evaluate their business interruption losses, all of which you're experiencing some. Most of you are still working, but there are companies that are just, as you know, shut down. And so the hope is from insurance industry standpoint that there will be federal backing for that, part of the stimulus package to keep things whole. So we'll keep you informed on that. How that, our fortunes are tied to your fortunes. Epic is a broker. We represent your interests, so we advocate very hard for our insureds. We rise and fall with you, so we're very much together with you. Very impressed with how your industry has responded to making this a better world despite the COVID, keep the sanitation standards going, and keep the pestilence down, things that are critical to our society. To that end, we've worked with our carriers, which is Hanover Nova, to defer payments for those that can't make their payments on time, to defer those. Also, to do midterm evaluations of your exposure. So if your payrolls are going down, we can adjust those for you midterm. Same thing, your general liability receipts, and on your auto, anything like that. So it's important for you, especially as a PCOC insured, contact our service team, and we will take care of you and work with you on that. So critical for you there. The other thing that I'm probably happiest about, and it's a huge deal, and we wrote a little announcement that came out last week's PCOC alert about being approved that we are going to cover sanitation efforts for COVID-19. And I paused to that sink in because that's a big deal. Is COVID-19 is like the scourge of the planet, right? Everybody's in fear of it. The germaphobes are just this thing. So for a carrier to actually come in and say, we're going to cover the operators for sanitation efforts in that regard is pretty phenomenal. It gives you all, first of all, what's so cool about this is you can hit this, invisible enemy head on, and you can help to sanitize people's homes, commercial business, you name it. Critical, right? And what better industry is there than the pest control industry? That, well, you know how to read SDS labels, you know how to apply materials. It's just such a natural for you to do this. So, and I have to do a big call out to Laura Coy, who led the charge with the carrier to get this done. It may seem like common sense to a lot of you, but believe me, 99% of the carriers out there are not going to cover this in terms of your sanitation efforts. So we're very proud of that. I hope that it gives a benefit to you. If you're not one of our insureds and you want to do this work, and make sure you talk to your broker and carrier to make sure they are going to cover it. So that's a critical piece. Let me see. That's pretty. The other thing is, I wanted to mention too. The captive piece of the Peacock Group is renewing July 1st, and that we anticipate to go smoothly and going according to plan. So that's all good. Like Lee said, the financials are good. They're strong. When we talk about claims, yes, we'll have fewer auto losses this year because you guys aren't driving nearly as much, let alone the rest of the world. We think there'll be more comp claims in terms of because people will be getting laid off, so you get some of those type of things happening. But there are fewer workers out there to get injured too, so that could be an offset. So we're not alarmed. We think we're making great traction before COVID-19 on reducing auto losses. And so that's the overall insurance part. One thing I wanted to tell you, Epic is we're a phenomenal company in that we really put the people first. And we came up with this sort of how we treat with our insurers and in the industry and people that we talk to. And all of our people, we really have 5 questions. You know, what do we ask our clients and ask our prospects? How are you? How is your family? How is your business? How are your people? And how can we help? So we love this industry. We love what you're doing. We love this association. So please call Laura, call Michael, call myself, any of our team members. We're here to help you. So that's my report.
Any other questions for either one of us? All right, that's it, Mike. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Lee. Really appreciate what you guys are doing out there. All right, next up, Jim Steed is going to walk us through the PAPCO balance sheet report.
So this is PAPCO runs on a calendar year. So this is just a little bit of info from the beginning of the year. Obviously, we have in our Wells Fargo checking. By the way, this is on your salmon colored sheets. If you ever wondered what color that is, lox and bagel. So salmon color. We have $13,781.58 in our checking account. An opening balance equity of $98,759.52 with retained earnings at $83,927.94 and a net income loss of $1,050. Total equity at $13,781.58. Total liabilities and equities, same number. And so for PAPCO, you can imagine the legislature is essentially on hold right now in a way that it's never been on hold, which has sort of frozen our strategy because we follow the lead that we're given by Dom Damari. I spoke with Dom Damari last week and again this week. He feels that his firm is going to be in a position next week to begin to form a strategy for us for this year. So we expect as we are able to have more of the dues come in and our revenues for PAPCO increase, that will coincide directly with Dom's recommendation, and PAPCO spending for this year will probably start in earnest May and June and July, where we do most of the spending for PAPCO. We're not totally certain as to what we're going to be able to, how much we're going to be able to do. We have a higher percentage of our dues that's dedicated towards PAPCO, but we have some revenue issues. So we're making sure that PAPCO can move forward at its strongest possible strength while we keep the doors open of the association. And that's my report.
All right, thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. So we are going to move into new business. So before we go into the longer 2 pieces of new business, which is our proposed 2021 budget with Tom and our COVID-19 update with MPMA, Mary Hernandez asked for just a few minutes. So Mary, if you could please chime in.
Yep, sure can. Hi, everybody. We talked yesterday about ways to bring in some revenue that might be on a faster avenue than some of these other things that we're not able to do right now. So we came up with doing a bumper sticker, an industry, PCOC industry bumper sticker. And Mike, you were going to put it up on the board. It's actually the second one, not the first one. As pest control professionals, we protect people, property, and the food supply. We have ordered 1,000 of them, and hopefully, I'd like to propose that we charge $10 each, and then everybody puts one on your trucks, on your cars, on all your vehicles, put them on your grandma's vehicles, whatever. Anyway, just to support our industry. I think that it's going to, at this moment in time, I think it's going to go through social media, and then the staff will probably put something together on getting it out on email. So I'll be looking for that. And a pretty inexpensive way of supporting us and helping keep the doors open. Anybody have any questions?
So Mary, one came through on the chat. What is the size of the sticker?
The size is 2.5 inches by 9 1/4 inch. So they are rectangular.
So they're rectangular, standard size bumper sticker.
And they'll be blue with
If
white.
you're a male, it's like that. Come on. So that works. Any other questions for Mary?
Thank
you. Nickel, I just want to say thank you because he threw that one out in a discussion where it was an idea. So thank you for that. So Pat Lynch, Bell Labs, $10 each is what we're proposing. So yes, $10 each. When and where can we get them, Dave Silva? If you want to place your order through the PCOC office, which is you can email Karen at PCOC or Sarah at PCOC. We should have them in the next 5 to 7 days.
Yes.
Yeah, 5 to 7 days. We should have them available. So if you sent a message saying, hey, you know, we'll take, like Pat Lynch just said, we'll take 50. So we'll send you an invoice for 50, we'll get it paid, and we'll send you out 50 stickers once they're in. So the turnaround time is, like we're saying, 5 to 7 business days, and we'll have these in hand in the office. So if you all want to order, we can put a second order in if 1,000 goes super fast. So awesome job, Mary. Thank you again, Travis.
Good job for bringing that to our attention.
Absolutely. All right, moving forward. Tom Graston, the proposed budget. I don't know if you're speaking, Tom. We can't hear you. Tom? That's pretty funny. The moderator is struggling with sound. All right, so Tom, if you want to table that, alternative.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. We can hear you now.
Okay. Hang on. Okay, you can hear me okay? Mike, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay. If you go to your packets, I just want to let you guys know that this won't be a budget that we will be voting on today. This is something we're looking at. Unfortunately, this is going to have to be revised under the circumstances that we're under right now. Circumstances being that we basically don't know what our events are looking like. The expo is a big money-making event for us that's supposed to be coming up in June. I know the governor has just announced that it's going to be a while before he allows any events of over 100 people. With that said, it's pretty hard to put a straight budget in April together. I will be putting together a better budget or a more realistic budget in June when we have all these numbers in. But right now, I just want to let you know that this one is based on trend. So if you look at, for example, just the dues at 420 last year, I based it on the past 3 years, reduced it down to 410. Also, if you look at further a little bit down, you see on the termite, we have the termite academy that was very successful. That generated 30,000 in revenue. And that is projected in at 60,000. So right now, with the additional 60,000 based on 2 termite academies, it will bring our income up to 888,000, and then I match the expenses down below. But once again, this is not a budget that we're voting on right now, and for some reason, I don't have any audio, so I can't even tell if you guys can even hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, Tom.
Are there any questions? If there are any questions, you can just go to chat and I can pick them up there. Okay, I see somebody put in, they like me quiet. Okay, if there's no questions, Mike, do you want to take over while I work on my audio here?
Sure. So just for everybody, if for some reason Expo does not happen, just know that we will have to do a virtual vote on this. So we will have to vote in next year's budget sometime in June, whether it's virtual, email, or something of that nature. So just so everybody's on the same page, that will have to happen at some point.
Mike,
Yep.
I have a question. This is Lee.
Yeah.
I see on here on the expense side, we're still showing the MPMA association dues. Or no, that's for 2019. My apologies. But for 2020, I know. How is that money folded back into the budget? You know, the offset. I know we voted on allocating it to certain, certain to PAPCO and a few other places. Is that moving forward? Are we continuing to allocate that money in the same?
Yeah. So that
washed into the general fund now.
No, it has not washed into the general fund. So 10,000 of that was going towards leadership. I want to say, and I'm doing this off my memory, but it was 10,000 towards Leadership Academy. I think it was 4,000 to CARES, and the remainder, I think that was 37 or.
That's correct. 12%, Mike.
What's that?
That was 12%. So yeah, the rest goes to PAPCO.
The rest went to PAPCO. Does that answer the question, Lee?
Yeah, it does. I guess, as dire as times are, I'd wonder if, for this, at least for this year, if it makes sense to allocate those dollars. Those are very worthwhile committees and charity organizations, but I mean, none of them matter if we can't keep our association doors open. I just wonder if that money isn't better, given its current circumstances, if that money isn't better served going directly to the association general fund.
Hey, Lee, that's one of the subjects that's on the table for the task force that we're looking at. Where we're looking at the financial, we're looking at basically restructuring a lot of the things that we're doing right now.
Yeah, that's a great observation, Lee.
Thank you.
Other questions or thoughts or?
Mike?
Yeah.
Just a point, doing a little figuring here. If the four majors, PAPCO, CARES, Scholarship, and Peacock, pledge, not give, but pledge as a reserve fund 5% of their assets, we'd have about $116,000 for the association to draw from if it was needed.
Okay. So a pledge being different from a donation or a give, if you will.
Definitely. The pledge being the money is there if you need it, but it stays in the particular fund.
So it'd be a backup to the emergency fund, if you will.
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough. Great observation. Good thoughts. Thank you, Harold. Any other thoughts or questions? Greg, go ahead and unmute yourself. I see your hand.
Oh, I did it. Unmuting myself. There we go. Hi, everybody. One thought I had, I know that we're sending the dues out early, which I think has already been done. And I think in your comments, Mike, you asked for a quick pay. And I think it's also consistent with what's going on at the national level. I've already got my invoice and actually already paid my national. So I think they're probably trying to early pay for the exact same reasons. And one thing, at least I'm doing this year, I've never had a supplemental member at Harbor Pest Control. I've been the only member. I have a right man, Bill Bensmeyer's been with the company 40 years, but for one reason or another, I've never had him as a supplemental. And just to make a little difference here and increase the one line item in terms of dues for our association, I plan to make Bill a supplemental member this year. And I would put a challenge out to anybody else that may not have any supplementals, or maybe if everybody added, those that can. I mean, some companies are hurting more than others, but those of us, we were very blessed with being an essential service. Chris and our association has worked very hard to preserve that designation, as well as to make sure that it applied to all three branches. So I know it's a small little piece. It's like the bumper stickers, but I'm going to have, for the first time, a supplemental member, and I put that challenge out to anybody else to, if everybody just added one supplemental member, it would make a nice dent in our budget this year. And also second the motion to get the quick pay. We pay bills every Wednesday, and I plan to write our check tomorrow. So both in terms of quick pay and adding one supplemental.
Awesome. Greg, great thoughts. All right. Any other comments or questions or anything of that nature regarding the budget and or fundraising?
Hey, Mike, I just want to remind everybody that we will be voting on this in June. So take a look at it. If you have any questions, you can always email me or call me.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Tom. We're going to move forward. So I'm very, very happy that the next group has joined us, and it's MPMA. So I believe Jim, I don't know if anybody else is with Jim from MPMA, but I really want to thank you all for joining us and providing this update. Jim is going to provide us with a COVID-19 update. Thank you again for attending. So Jim, it's yours.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Jim Fredericks here. Also, Ashley Amadon, our Vice President of Public Policy, will be given a portion of this report. But I wanted to just start off by saying thanks for inviting us to participate, and also to commend PCOC for all of the hard work. Hats off to the membership, hats off to the staff for all the hard work that you all are doing on a daily basis as we kind of redefine our daily lives. And hats off also to the staff and membership for fostering relationships at the state level, so that you can get some of that fast turnaround that Chris talked about a little bit earlier, and having those ears that are open to our issues when you go to Sacramento to talk about issues like fumigation or the testing and certification issues that are arising now with the COVID-19. As kind of a brief overview, it feels like I kind of lost track of time a little bit. But it was just a few weeks ago that we were all kind of at legislative day trying to figure out if this was a real thing to be concerned about. Looking back, we were doing elbow bumps, fist bumps instead of shaking hands, and everybody was bought into the idea that this was a real concern. And now here we sit a month and a half later in our homes, separated from one another. So, as I said, things are changing on a daily basis. At the outset in MA, tried hard to get word out, to get information out to the membership, to the industry, with regards to just sifting through the plethora of information that was available. It felt like for the first week or so, we were just being inundated by recommendations from CDC and the government and OSHA and the EPA, and we tried to coalesce all that information and put it in one place. And that is a website that we developed, which is pestcontrolcoronavirus.org or pestcontrolcoronavirus.com. If you haven't been there, I would encourage you to view that, there's information at the federal and state level. There's information with regard to marketing and communications. There is also information there about disinfection services, which we are hearing from members all across the country. This is an area that I feel like the pest control industry is uniquely positioned to play an important part in as we move forward over the next couple of months. We have been seeing varied responses from state lead agency across the country with regard to testing and CEUs and certification. One of the biggest issues that I think we're all facing is the concern about new employees being hired with testing sites being closed, a difficulty in getting those folks licensed or certified or registered to do work alone. We've seen a couple of different approaches in places like Georgia and Indiana. We're working with certain states in New England in particular. We are working with states to perhaps amend our the NPMA new employee training and testing for the Massachusetts training and testing program. They're under review. Certainly our fingers are crossed because it could be a potential solution, but we don't know that it will definitely be something that is embraced. But we're working hard across the board, and I know that PCOC membership staff is working hard at the California level as well. With regard to antimicrobial or disinfection services, this is new to us as well, and we just held a webinar this afternoon, our afternoon, your morning, for about 650 people who had registered to hear about disinfection services. We had representatives from Ecolab. We had representatives from Rollins, as well as American Pest Anti-Cymex, to talk about how they kind of got their programs up to speed and spent some time specifically talking about antimicrobials. We have this section on our website, and if you're operating in states other than California, or even in California, we have information with regard to the testing and certification that's required, if any, to operate in your states. So we would encourage you to take a look at that website, because we feel like that's the place where we've been kind of pushing all of the information to, including the essential services questions and designations that we were dealing with previously. So what I'd like to do is turn it over to Ashley Amadon, who can give us an update from some of the work that she's been involved in over the last couple of weeks.
Ashley? Is this thing on?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mike. You're on.
Okay. Hey, Jim, I don't believe Ashley is, I don't know if she's on or if she's having trouble with audio.
She looks like she's having trouble with audio. She's texting me right now. She says, I'm here. I'm trying to talk. So she's having a little bit of trouble unmuting.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how to deal with that. We're obviously in different places, so hands are tied.
All right.
Can Tom unmute her?
Tom, do you see Ashley?
Yeah, I see her. I'm trying to unmute her, but it's not allowing me to.
Sometimes she needs to hang up and dial back in. That seems to fix it sometimes.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one.
Oops, did I say that out loud?
So in the meantime, Mike, I saw that Fred Rozo had asked about the website, and I would, the website, the web address is pestcontrolcoronavirus.com. And so for anybody who's interested in that, it's pestcontrolcoronavirus.com or .org.
Yeah, and if you didn't get a chance to write that down, on the PCOC website, there's a direct link to it. So if you pcoc.org, there's a direct link over to that website. So thank you, Jim.
Can anyone hear me? It's Ashley.
Woohoo! There she is.
Oh my God. Woohoo! Wow, I've got a lot of pressure on me now to have stuff worth saying since you guys listened to technological difficulties for the last 2 minutes. Sorry about that, guys. This is Ashley Amadon, VP of Public Policy. And as Jim mentioned, I'm handling federal policy right now, which is ever changing. Congress has had a couple big packages that they've passed through and a couple more that they're talking about. And I'm not going to go super in depth on them. As Jim, I'm sure mentioned while I was calling in and out, that information is available on our website. We try to keep that up to date. But there are a couple things I wanted to cover really quickly. I'm sure everyone at this point, if you've opened a web browser, read the news, listened to it, has heard about the CARES Act, which was the largest package that most recently passed that had a lot of support for small businesses in it. There are a couple different programs that I'm sure you guys have heard about ad nauseum, both through the news and through NPMA and PCOC. And the primary one is the Paycheck Protection Program, or the PPP. This is the loans that are available to small businesses under 500 employees that are forgivable up to a certain amount. And we sent out a news alert this afternoon that the PPP program is expected to run out of money by Friday. It isn't a firm deadline. If a lot of people apply, it could run out Thursday. If not as many people apply as have been the last few days, it might be open to Monday or Tuesday. There's no real guarantee or firm deadline, but it definitely looks like it is running out of money and will soon. So if you are on the fence about applying or you're working on an application, I would strongly recommend that you get that in the next day or two. Congress at this point has said that they are pretty much out of session through May 4th. There has been a lot of partisan dickering, unfortunately, but unsurprisingly, between Republicans and Democrats on whether they are willing or able to fund PPP. Both parties want to put more money on it. The Democrats have said that they want to fund other things, including SNAP, states and local governments, and additional funding for hospitals. The Republicans have been pretty firm that they only want money for this program. So it's sort of at a stalemate right now, which means that the program looks like it will run out of money. For those of you that are interested in the EIDL loans, which are a different set of loans through the Small Business Administration, those are also forecast to run out. I don't have a firm date. Numbers haven't been as widely available for that. But again, I would strongly recommend, if you're interested in that loan program, to go ahead and put in your application now. The one thing to think about particularly for the PPP program, is that banks are able to, and some of them definitely are, putting additional qualifications on businesses that want to get these loans. The way the loans are structured in the CARES Act is pretty basic when it comes to what the qualifications are. But I know Bank of America, for instance, has some specific qualifications about whether how long you've been a Bank of America customer, what types of accounts you have, as to whether they'll put your loan application forward. So talk to your lending institution. They're the ones that are going to be able to give you really specific information. And then we've also been working really hard to keep our FAQs on the website up to date, not only on federal small business, but sort of federal policy in general, shelter in place, disinfectant. If you have a question that's not listed there, you're welcome, of course, to email anyone on the team, and we'll do our best to find an answer for you. Really quickly, sort of looking ahead, I've mentioned that Congress won't be back in until May 4th. There's a lot of chatter in DC right now about what the next stimulus package will look like. Between you, me, and the fence post, I think there will be at least one more, if not two more. The Republicans have indicated that they aren't real firm on whether they want to do another gigantic stimulus package like CARES was, but I frankly think it will have to happen. I did a breakdown that I think is pretty thorough of a bunch of the different proposals that are sort of floating around right now. If you go to our website, the coronavirus specific one under federal, it will be the most recent one there. And I've sort of broken down what each of these different proposals have that might be of interest either to you as a business or to you as an individual. There hasn't really been a consensus yet, even among the Democrats, for instance. They have 5 different proposals running around depending on who you talk to. So it's a real lack of clarity and a lack of certainty, I think, in DC right now about what the best path forward is policy-wise, and even when the timing might take place. So we're going to continue to monitor it. I have watched a lot more C-SPAN in the last month than I really, really wanted to. I would much prefer to be binge watching Tiger King, but instead I've been watching the Senate floor. So I will keep doing that and certainly keep providing updates to the industry. And I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, so questions for Jim or Ashley while we have them. Anything COVID related? Because they are the all-knowing when it comes to this. Greg, you can unmute your.
I don't think this is really a national question, but one I'm curious about, the sanitation and disinfection services, to provide those in the state of California, what branch license do we have to have?
So, Greg, my understanding is, and I'm sure there's somebody on here that's going to be more knowledgeable in California than I am, but if you have this is where I'm going to get it messed up. If you have a QAL with a category P, A, P, or K, does that make sense?
Yeah, it's category A, P, and K.
A, P, and K, then you're okay. If you don't have A, P, or K, then there are certain requirements that you could then become exempt, and they can waive their requirements. But I think that most would have A, P, or K in this group.
So
yeah, and you have to go to your commissioner too. There's criteria that have to be met, and you have to go to your commissioner to get approval.
That's right.
Are those instructions, Chris, are those instructions on the ECOC website if someone wants to get into this?
They're actually on the QAL DPR website on that, Greg.
So they're available on the DPR website. It was also somewhat outlined on a Friday email, one of the update emails that was sent. But there is pretty strict guidelines as to what you follow on the DPR website. Our branch 2s will not cover it specifically, just for everybody on the call. Branch 2 does not cover this. Branch 3 does not cover this. It is strictly through DPR A, K, and P.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? All right. Jim and Ashley, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. We really do appreciate the updates. Thank you again. So moving forward, we will move into our committee reports. So Tom Graston, if you will please call on your committees. If your audio is working.
Yeah, it's working. Sorry, I'm just not sitting here with my packet open. Okay, so not all the committees met. So scholarship committee, do we have anything from you, Jackie?
Yeah, so scholarship committee did meet today. We did agree to go ahead and move forward on the scholarships as we had previously announced at the December meeting. So we had 9 applicants and we were awarding 8 scholarships. So I'll be sending Sarah and Janai all the information for that. And we will get the notices out to those who were awarded scholarships and those who were not awarded scholarships. Other than that, we basically focused on different fundraising efforts as everyone, as we look at the different financial status of all the different things that are going on right now. Obviously, our fundraising this year has kind of fallen flat, and so we will be focusing heavily on that as things kind of settle out and we get back to our new normal.
Great.
So with
Thank
that,
you,
that's
Jackie.
basically what I have.
Great. Thank you. Nicole, are you on? Nicole Keefe? Karen, do you have anything to report on the membership committee?
I did unmute myself. 2 new members. So I hit my goal again, and just working on promoting PCOC as much as I can.
Great, thank you. Heidi, did you meet on the fumigation committee?
We did not meet, but I know that John Sansone will have a report on his fumigation update.
So I'll go straight to John for fumigation enforcement. And thank you, John. John, are you on still?
I've unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. Thanks, John.
Yes, we did have an opportunity to meet, and that was last Tuesday. We actually had very good attendance. It's the first time we've done a virtual call for this particular committee meeting. And we had representatives from the 4 counties in the program: LA, Orange County, Santa Clara County, and San Diego. We actually had a lot of regional people from DPR, and we actually had some health department people on from Santa Clara County. Overall, in light of what's going on in California and across the world, really, it was a little bit more somber, a little bit more serious in light of the events that are taking place. But that being said, we did move forward. For the LA County report, we have a new program supervisor. They've had a lot of retirements in LA County, and the latest person is Aniko Pomjanik that's running the program. So she formerly had worked in many other departments within LA County. So they reported on the second quarter, which is October, November, and December. So things were in full effect as opposed to how things are going now. Their inspection rate was 5.4%. Their fiscal year to date is 15,600 fumes for $125,000 in the program. The most serious violations were a secondary lock violation and a fumigator entering the structure without an SCBA and monitoring device. I did ask that Luis from Insistex and Matt from Douglas follow up on the more serious violations that were reported during the course of the meeting. And they have both followed up with emails saying that they did follow up and made contact with the operators that had the violations. In LA County, they also had 4 investigations, primarily from neighbors, either complaining they hadn't been notified or were fearful of the fumigation being close by. But after investigation by the county, there were everything checked out and no violations were issued. Moving on to Orange County, They had a 3% inspection rate, about 8,000 fumigations to date for $66,000. Really didn't have any, serious violations to really report on. San Diego County report, 2.8%, about 9,000 fumigations for $74,000. And they really had a few that were done undercover at that time, had a couple of violations primarily for not doing the cap in sequence. Santa Clara County, which is, the county that has been probably hit the worst by the pandemic, is under, more strict regulations in their county. They inspected a 3.6% rate, about 3,000 year to date, and $26,000. And they just had one violation during that reporting period. Currently, I asked the counties to give an update on their current activities. And except for Santa Clara County, all counties were still inspecting. It appeared that maybe they were doing more tarp checks where they were at the site when the fumigator was not there. They're being, very cautious with social distancing when they do see the fumigators there, and probably not going to be doing a lot of headquarters inspections for the time being. So that being said, Santa Clara has a definite policy of not doing anything at this point until more restrictions are lifted within their county. Peggy Byerly did a DPR report and reported that the dates have been set for the annual training, and it's September 22nd to 24th, and it'll be in Dublin in Northern California. Structural Pest Control Board, we had both Kathy Boyle and Susan Saylor, and Kathy did report on the testing centers are closed at least until 4:30, and there's probably more information on the board's website. Susan reported they continue to follow up when fumigators do not make their payments to the counties in the program for the $8 fee. And if the counties are having difficulty getting the fumigator to pay, in some cases, the structural board has had to get involved to try to collect that money. We had a registrant's report from Insistex and Douglas. Douglas continues to make contact with DPR on the progress of the risk characterization document for sulfuryl fluoride. And they are using consultants that are checking in. And a lot of that now is being done, obviously, by phone. And Luis also gave a report. The next thing is under old business. The bystander issue is still ongoing. We had a tour, a field visit set up with 3 key risk managers for the month of March. We started to get jobs lined up. And that obviously they canceled since they were not allowed to travel because of the COVID-19. It was really critical for them to come down. Many of them have never seen a fumigation. One is the new modeler for sulfuryl fluoride. And so because of these travel restrictions, they were not able to come down. A meeting did take place in March with Cal EPA, and Chris has already reported on this. Heidi was actually in attendance, as was Janet Rowley, and they had a lot of banking, mortgage, and real estate folks in the meeting as well. I am recommending, and I did speak with Chris about this, that we do send a follow-up letter to Cal EPA and DPR. And I know that has been communicated verbally to them, that we would like no action to be taken on the endpoint until stakeholders have the opportunity to meet with the current risk managers for a fumigation site visit and discussion of the published mitigation options. So hopefully that will get done. I'd like to get something on the record in the event that the state of California maybe would do something stupid and move forward with the endpoint without actually meeting with us. So that takes care of the old business. I'm going to have Mike Watkins report on a new business item, which is the communication for the gas shutoff and restore for the gas companies in Southern California. So Mike, why don't you go ahead and give that quick update? And we cannot hear Mike. Okay, so I'll go ahead and give the update since we can't hear Mike. And essentially, SoCal Gas and San Diego Gas and Electric, were quite unnerved by the pandemic. They also did realize, that this was a kind of part of the critical infrastructure to have homes fumigated. We would not be able to fumigate any homes if we couldn't get the gas turned off. We're not allowed to do it. And so they have restrictions in place for turning the gas off and restoration of the pilot lights. And they do not want anybody in the property. When they do go in, they're wearing masks and gloves. So it's at this time, they are still continuing to do it. They're taking, the possibility of contraction of the virus to their technicians that go in the house very seriously. They have very strong unions. And so they are continuing to provide the service and will do it unless circumstances change. We had one update from PG&E in Northern California. They continue to provide service. However, in the Sacramento area, it appears that you cannot get a turnoff scheduled. They're about 2 weeks behind in scheduling turnoff. So it takes that long to actually be able to schedule it in that area. And in light of their bankruptcy, things have been a little bit dicey with getting those scheduled with PG&E. So I'm going to move ahead with the next item. Several of us worked with Douglas Products, thanks to Janet Rowley and Heather Kern and Doug Bell from Douglas. Also Travis and Mike, we put together a package, an infographics package that really put together a strong defense for the mitigation options that are listed in the addendum to the risk characterization document. And so these packages will be sent out at the appropriate time for legislators and DPR as a way to visually show why the options that DPR currently has listed are really unworkable. And so we've spent quite a bit of time in dealing with that. The next item is regarding the funding for the enforcement programs, since fumigations have dropped dramatically during the period, we expect that the counties are going to have difficulty, collecting monies. There's not as many fumigations, and so we'll probably have to deal, with that issue in the future. Fumigators are probably running about 60 to 70% down on fumigations at this point. I know it's a tough time for everybody in the industry. While other people can, have other types of pest control that they may be doing, fumigators only have those subcontract fumigations to rely on, and appreciate the support of the branch 3s and branch 2s for those people to keep them going during this time. The last thing, I know someone brought up N95 masks and the potential supply to essential workers. Those things are in short supply through our Cardinal Safety Supply business. We have contracted with a company, fingers crossed, for 220,000 N95 masks and respirators. We're hopeful that they're going to come in around the 22nd or 23rd. So let's keep our fingers crossed. We have, many orders for hospitals and other groups that really need these. Folks in the agricultural industry that are currently, picking crops and trying to keep the food channel open. So we're hopeful we're going to get these masks, and we'll try to keep PCOC apprised if we actually get them and they're actually what we ordered. So that's my update today. I really, want to say thank you to PCOC and Chris for all the great work you guys are doing. It's a tough time for everybody but we know, we have each other to really rely on to get through this together. So thank you to you guys at this time. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, John. On this time, I'd like to call on to Dean.
Excuse me, Tom.
And Dean, I don't have anything for the building committee.
Excuse me, Tom.
Okay, thanks, Tom. I'd like to call on the Pest Chair Chantal. You have anything, Chan? Chance, are you there?
Dean, this is Bill Gaither.
Okay, Bill.
I have a quick comment for John Sansone regarding Sacramento. They are not on PG&E service. They have their own utility district known as SMUD, and that may be why they're having a backlog with their turn-offs and turn-ons there.
Yeah, I didn't quite get the comment that, but this was the report that we had gotten, and this was, for our meeting, which was about a week ago. So I'm hoping things improve, and if they are doing the restores on a timely basis. So thanks for that comment.
Thanks, John. Sylvia's doing chances. Go ahead if you're on.
Okay, great. A couple of things for Chance. Most of the things that branch 2 would cover is going to be the disinfecting, which we've had already some discussion on, and the safety equipment. And then Darren is going to be going over the rodenticide information. So we're not going to take that. But I do want to let you know that we did reach out to continuing education providers, and the CERIS, formerly Univar ES, they're going to be doing 2 hours of free continuing education. You don't have to be a customer, but you can use their 2 hours. And Target is also doing 2 hours of education for free. So reach out to your Target or Univar or your CERIS reps, and they'd be able to get you that information on how to get those hours. As John mentioned, I had a conversation with Kathy Boyle, and so they have made the recommendations for the extension on the licenses. And so we'll have to wait back to see if those go through. So if you need hours, definitely take advantage of those. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is, as we were talking about continuing ed, it looks like we've secured at least 2 speakers for the PCOC webinars that we're working with Structural Pest Control Board on. Both Gail Getty and Neve Quinn have donated 1 hour. So this would be likely branch 2 hours or maybe IPM. So stay tuned for that one. Hopefully we'll get those through shortly. It looks like we're very close. And with that, I have nothing else.
So, sorry to cut in. Could you cover the rodenticide because Darren is not on the call?
Okay, rodenticides. All right, so and we are still sitting, the bill is still sitting in the last committee for the Senate. And if, as mentioned previously, if they go through and decide to pick up the government, so to speak, that we would, you know, see how it goes. But I believe that when we had the conversation with Darren, he mentioned that Gavin Newsom has asked that the bills that be considered are ones that have to deal with COVID-19, and those are the pressing ones. And so they've asked the Senate, both the Senate and the Assembly, to really look for those bills. Our bill is probably in jeopardy as well, but we won't back off unless Bloom has made that decision. So we are still in this. If you do not follow Malibu Poison Free, they had a webinar on Friday with the founders of Malibu Poison Free, and they talked about the fact that they're still hopeful the bill passes. They went through, it's actually quite comical. You should watch it. It's long, but they had some things in there that were interesting. They're also pursuing the California Coastal Commission. They talked about that as well in length. And so we're still in this. And so, you know, stay tuned. The team has put together, Darren put together some best management practices. They're working with DPR, but that bill has not gone away. We just have to kind of wait and see what happens with COVID-19 and the government. Is that fair, Jim? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, yeah, very close. I just actually got an email less than an hour ago from Dom. Our bill, which is 2373, is going to be parked in committee for future consideration. So that's very good for us. That means depending on how this legislative year goes, it's available to us, and it can even be available next year. And then your assessment of 1788 is right on spot. Unless it's COVID directly related, it's probably not going to move forward.
Okay, I think that's it.
Professional women in pest management, Mary Hernandez, do you have anything for us?
Just really quick, because we had a few things, and we did not have a meeting, but I think our committee, we're going to wait and see what we're doing with our Women of Excellence and our brunch. I doubt we'll be having, even if we have our Leg Day one, because it will only be a one-day event. So we'll maybe plan for that for the following year. And then when we will award our Woman of Excellence Award will probably be either at the legislative if we do that, or at our board of directors in September. But with everything still up in the air, we're just kind of holding off. We have all of our nominees, and but we're holding off to make those decisions for now. So that's it. And I don't know if the they were doing one in San Diego, the International Professional Women in Pest Management Leadership Forum, May 13th. And I haven't heard anything official, but I highly doubt that's going on through NPMA either. But I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it called off yet. And
it is, Mary. This is Sylvia. It's called off and being rescheduled. Yeah, it's being rescheduled for the weekend before West Coast Rodent Academy. So I think that's the 8th, 9th? November. Yep, November.
Great. Okay, thank you, Mary. I know Tom doesn't have anything, so I'll turn it over to your affiliate representative, Sylvia Kinmer. Sylvia?
Okay, there we go. All right, so I will go ahead and start off with West Coast. Very successful West Coast Rodent Academy. Again, we had people from Hawaii, Oregon, Washington, I think, think that's it. Maybe Neve is on the call. She could chime in. But it looks like we're roughly about 15,000. And so thank you. We will have the next West Coast Rodent Academy. I have to look at my calendar. This went faster than I thought it was going to go. Let's see. And I didn't realize it was, okay. It's going to be the 11th, 12th, and 13th of November. And so mark your calendars. You'll probably see the registration sometime in September, usually around the Board of Directors meeting in Paso. And again, PCOC members will get the early registration and the discounted price. And with that, that's it for the West Coast Rodent Academy. The next update would be from Public Relations, which I believe Ralph is going to go ahead and give that update.
Okay, so at this point, Chaz Estrada was the former chair on this, and he's recently stepped down. That being said, we did not have a chance to meet. The only thing I could really report on is some of the activity that we've had with the that we had covered before. The auto texting that we have been utilizing in our district has actually worked extremely well. We've been able to, keep contact with our people, which is one of the things that we found was the most important thing to do right now, as we're not able to meet. Making sure that you're finding ways to utilize modern technology to be able to, reach out to your constituents and, just let them know, keep them apprised of all the updated information just beyond an email. So, and then one of the other things we had talked about was, but again, as I said, we did not meet prior to this, so unfortunately I don't have anything else to report.
Okay, thanks, Ralph. And then Doug, did you have, Bell, did you have one for the affiliate committee?
Hey, what's up, guys? No, we did not meet for affiliate committee, so no update. Just looking to see how we can support everybody, especially with those hours. I know there'll be a lot of affiliates that will probably get some calls here as we get closer for the renewal period. So however we can help with that. And yeah, that's all I really have to say now. We did not have a meeting though.
Okay, great. All right. So now I turn it over to, and I don't have too many screens. Let me look.
Greg Augustine.
Great, Augustine. There we go. Thank you, Greg.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, I'd like to call up the Termite Committee, Garrett Thrasher. Do you have a report?
Hi, Greg. Thanks, everybody. Just real quick, the Termite Academy was a success. That's not just for me, that's from other attendees that were in, that made the first event great. Big thanks to PCOC and Bernard at Berkeley. We learned a lot from our first academy, and we look forward to doing 2, I guess, in the coming years. But I appreciate everyone's support, and nothing else to report, Greg.
Thank you, Garrett. And yes, everybody and anyone I've talked to that was part of that says it was a huge success. So what a great start, Garrett. And I know it was also your brainchild. So thank you very much. I think it's certainly been eclipsed by COVID, but if it wasn't for COVID, we would really be celebrating this. So thank you. All right, Lauren Thrasher, Constitution and Bylaws. Do you have a report, Lauren?
No, we did not make nothing to report at this point.
All right. All right, and then finally, that brings up advisory nominations. Mr. Jim Steve, do you have anything for us?
Just to recommend that you folks consider, we are still going to have our elections coming up. So there are positions available in CARES, in PAPCO, in scholarship. So if you think that you're feeling like you'd like to run for election, please consider those and just send me an email to submit your name. You'll be able to submit your name when we have the election as normal, and we'll have to figure out how they're going to handle the balloting. But please try to keep in mind that we need more than ever to keep these positions filled. And so if you've got interest in that, just send me an email. I'm in the directory.
Jim, thank you very much. And now I'd like to turn over to Third Vice President Mary Hernandez.
Hello again. Okay, Dean, do you have anything more to add to PCOC CARES?
We did not meet, but I know, Barbara, I see you're on the line. Did we work on any pins? Did you get those pins done? I can't hear you. So. No?
Okay.
There
No,
you go.
no, I didn't know how many to order, and I believe the company is now closed down.
Okay. Right. Well, we'll go back to the drawing board on this. Is all over. But that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Dean. Leadership Academy, is Sue Freeze on, or could be Mike McKenzie? Mike, do you have anything? Or Sue?
So Leadership Academy, I don't think Sue is on. I kind of glanced through the names and didn't see her. So very easy update here. The event has been canceled. It was scheduled for next week. So it's canceled until further notice. I'm hoping that we can get one in during summer, just after the turn of the actual PCOC year, if you will. As chairman, new chairman and vice chairs are established, hopefully we can get training for them together. But it all depends on what we can and can't do. So, but that's essentially all we have at this point.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I know Darren's not on, but anything with legislative committee? Anybody?
Mary, this is Chris.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to add any more than Jim and Sylvia mentioned, but just with one caveat. We're waiting to hear if there is going to be what I'd characterize as special session. As you know, this legislative session not go back till May. We're here, there might be a special session. So depending on what happens, even though, as Jim described, we're not going to, looks like, deal with our bill. They still go back. They still could go back in session, probably just to deal with COVID-19 issues only.
Okay, thanks, Chris. And then I don't think Jim Steve had anything with the PAPCO committee, so I'm finished, and I'll pass on to Secretary Dave Watkins.
Good afternoon, everybody. Safety Committee, Eric Paulson, do you have anything? Eric, is he there?
I think his communication was spotty. He said that it was pretty bad where he was at.
Okay, we'll move along to Historical Committee, and Billy Gaither has nothing. So that concludes my portion. It's always the quickest and easiest.
Well done, Dave. All right, so we're moving into unfinished business. Thank you all for the committee reports. I know this has been a crazy couple of weeks. So unfinished business, it was brought to my attention as we are looking for a like a refi of the building, it would probably be prudent of us to actually have a vote or a motion and a vote on that. So I would put it out there. Is there anybody who would like to make the motion for Chris and staff to look into obtaining a refi slash, I guess it's not refi because we own the building, but outright, but to look into getting a loan of $400,000 against our.
Mike, this is Mike Bullard. I would make that motion that we authorize Chris and the executive committee to look into a loan on the building for $400,000.
Okay.
And Mike, this is Ray Carrier, and I would second that motion.
Thank you, Ray. Now it's open for discussion. Is there anybody that has comments or questions?
Yeah, I would ask maybe that the folks who motioned and seconded consider amending their motion to authorize them to go ahead and do it. Time is kind of the essence, and if we're only authorizing them to investigate, I don't think that's enough authority. I think we should probably vote to go ahead and make that decision and get those funds in as quickly as we can.
I amend my motion.
And I agree.
Okay. So the motion on the floor, Jim, if you'll restate the motion for me.
Well, the motion is to obtain a loan for $400,000 on the building.
Okay. All right, so back to discussion. Is there any other discussion or commentary?
Hey, Mike, can we just do a refinance or a line of credit? Maybe you don't have to encumber the whole building and just find out what is optional out there. And that would be a minor tweak on the motion that's currently on the floor.
Okay. All right, I
Mike-
hear that.
Mike, what is the value of the building as it stands?
Yeah, so what we've looked into, we've done a little bit of background on this just to see where we're at. And the value that we're seeing is right around $1 million, if not north of $1 million, but we actually have not had it appraised today.
Yeah, we're waiting to get it appraised.
I would have to agree with a line of credit rather than a flat out refinance.
Okay.
I think a line of credit is much more difficult to secure. You're looking at essentially an unsecured loan with a line of credit, and I'm concerned that a line of credit is not going to be sufficient to build the bridge with this particular loan. We have enough money to handle just about any foreseeable circumstance. If we get more than we need, we can just pay the loan off earlier. And with interest rates being as low as they are, it's my understanding that interest rates on a line of credit are significantly higher than on a secured loan. So I think we should just stay focused on the mortgage, and then as long as the circumstances are favorable.
Can I ask?
I also,
Go ahead.
No,
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to say, if I missed it, what is the current loan balance and the current interest rate?
It's paid off.
It is
So
paid
the
off?
yeah,
Okay.
current loan balance is 0.
Okay.
So this would not be a second. I do see Rudy and Carly asked a question. We know the terms of the loan. So Chris, I know you've done a little background on that. Do we have any of the terms? Chris Reardon? Chris?
We may have lost him, but I know he sent out an email, Mike, and he sent me an email. And some of the terms, I mean, we haven't really defined any terms, except that we actually have, we're looking at a 3.75% loan, and we're looking at between 15 to 20 years. We're still at the due diligence part of looking at everything.
Yeah, hey, Mike, this is Chris again. That's correct.
Okay. So hopefully, Rudy, that kind of covers your question, or at least answers it for now.
I agree, by the way, with the line of credit issue. I mean, the rates are significantly higher going to line of credit, so.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. So I guess we'll call for the question, if you will. So the motion is to obtain a loan worth $400,000 against our property. I added that last piece, but motion to obtain a loan for $400,000 to PCOC staff and the executive committee. So all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you for the thumbs up, saw that too. If you are opposed, please signify by saying nay.
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 So I heard 2 nays. Maybe 3. So hearing that, it sounds like the motion carried. All right, so that was the unfinished business. Does anyone else have unfinished business they would like to address? Hearing none. All right, Karen, could you maybe do a review of the motions for us?
Sure. The first motion is approval of the minutes. First was Larry Trelevin. Second was Fred Rozo. Motion carried. The next one may need to be corrected here. Chris and the PCOC Executive Committee to obtain a loan for $400,000 against the PCOC building. First was by Mike Bullard. Second by Ray Carrier. Motion carried.
Awesome. Sounds.
Is that, did the second one sound okay to everybody? We kept on changing it.
Correct. I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Larry Trelevin.
Thank you, Larry. And I see Mary with her hand up and saying, so Mary Hernandez with the second.
326.
Yes, 326. All in favor, say aye once again.
Aye. Aye, aye, Captain.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank
Peace
you
out.
so much.
Thank you, everyone.
We appreciate everybody joining.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Bye-bye now.
Hi, Larry.
Bye-bye.